Good morning, everyone. Before I get started, I wanted to do a little test because I was requested to be able to speak loudly. So, Mitzi Muramoto, where are you? Mitzi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
You can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. All right. Yeah, I didn't want to go through my spiel and then afterwards get complaints about, being soft and, couldn't be heard. So this one's for you, Mitzi. Okay. Anyways, like I said, happy Father's Day to all of you fathers, and also to you parents. Happy Parents' Day. And today is a wonderful day for me. And it's not because the San Francisco Giants will start playing baseball at 10:10 today. The U.S. Open golf tournament, which I enjoy the most, is on today. And then at the end of the evening, around 5 o'clock, the Golden State Warriors will hopefully win the second championship in a row. No, the real reason why I'm happy that it's Father's Day is because of my family. And, I realize how important they are to me. And Sensei Grace, thank you, Sensei Grace, for introducing me. She said to come up and do a little bio, so I will make it short and sweet. I've been retired for almost 4.5 years. I worked for the state of California for 36 years. And I became a minister's assistant approximately 4 years ago in July of 2012. And I could say without a doubt, in addition to my family, one of the greatest pleasures has been to be part of Team Betsuwen and get to know the players on Team Betsuwen as well as the youth minister's assistants. And so with that, I'd like to get into my Dharma talk this morning. And I had mentioned about, I would say 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I talked about enlightenment. And one of the areas that I covered very briefly was the Eightfold Path. And so I decided that I would talk about the Eightfold Path today. During my Tokudo experience in Kyoto, I learned there were 8 significant events in the life of Shakyamuni Buddha. And the 5th event, called Goma, tells us that while sitting under the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha meditated for 49 days. And during almost all my lifetime, I've always heard that, Prince Siddhartha, or Siddhartha, because he gave up, him being a prince, had meditated for 49 days under the Bodhi tree. But I was never told, what went on during those 49 days. And so I made it a point for myself to try to find out, what did happen during those 49 days. And it is said that during that period, Siddhartha battled the temptations of Mara, M-A-A-R-A, the demon king of illusions. Mara tried many things to break Siddhartha's concentration and meditation to prevent him from becoming a Buddha. The illusions Mara used to try to trick Siddhartha included trying to convince Siddhartha to return home to become the universal ruler of India. 2, telling Siddhartha that his cousin, Devadatta, crushed Siddhartha's Shaka clan to become the new ruler, and Siddhartha had to return to reclaim the kingdom. Number 3, attacking Siddhartha with Mara's army of 1 million soldiers and using rain, hail, showers, fire, thunder, and earthquake to intimidate Siddhartha. And when all else failed, using his daughters, desire, pleasure, and delight, to seduce Siddhartha with dance, music, song, sweet talk, and physical lust to prevent Siddhartha from obtaining universal truth. Through unwavering concentration and meditation, Siddhartha overcame those temptations to achieve enlightenment and become Shakyamuni Buddha. My Dharma message centers around the 6th event, called Jodo, which was about the teachings that inspired his enlightenment. As we know, the Four Noble Truths consist of 1. Suffering is an inescapable part of life. The 8 forms of suffering are birth, aging, illness, death, separation from things and people we love, contact with things and people we dislike, being unable to acquire what we wish, and the last one, because we have eyes to see with, ears to hear with, nose to smell with, a tongue to taste with, and a body skin to feel with, which are all connected to our brains, we are able to develop our perceptions of good, bad, right, wrong, likes, dislikes, happiness, unhappiness. And as a result, we suffer from those perceptions of bad, wrong, dislike, and unhappiness. And as you're aware, the second noble truth, the causes or blind passions and suffering are greed, which promotes it is all about me attitude. As we try to acquire money, materials, relationships, power, and control. Second, anger when we do not get the things we want. And the third, ignorance for not understanding why we continue to suffer the way we do. The third noble truth, by letting go of our attachment to self, as they say in Buddhism, blowing out the candle of blind passions, we can become unselfish. Of course, in our lives, that teaching is easier said than done. And number 4, in order to become unselfish and eliminate our attachments and associated suffering, we must look towards the teachings of the Eightfold Path. Shakyamuni Buddha presented the Eightfold Path as a guide for all of us to try out and test in our lives so that we could develop our own insights to the nature of human reality. And through our continued lifelong efforts and self-discoveries, we can hopefully attain peace of mind from our suffering. As you are aware, the Eightfold Path consists of 1, the most important one, I believe, is right view, understanding, and that is, as you have heard before, life is impermanent. We're constantly changing, and we are independent or connected to each other. All things which represent the essence of, quote, the oneness of life. This is the starting point and the most significant step on the path. Number 2, right thought or intention. Possessing clear and honest thoughts before we act, speak, or write in order to promote equality and compassion for all life. Number 3, right speech. Being truthful, clear, thoughtful, uplifting, and calming when we speak or write. Although I have to admit, I have difficulty when I'm watching the Giants. That right speech kind of eludes me. Number 4, right conduct or action. Not killing, stealing, lying, cheating, or taking drugs. Committing to honesty, compassion, and respect for life, which means to honor the rights and property of others. Number 5, right livelihood. Earning an honorable living by avoiding deceitfulness, hypocrisy, and trickery which cause harm to others. Not dealing with harmful drugs and poisons, weapons, and human slavery. Number 6, right effort. Having enthusiasm and positive attitude in everything we do. Balancing energy with calm and peace. Number 7, which I believe is the second most important part of the journey on the path, is right mindfulness. And again, that's being aware of and focused on the moment, right now, by paying attention to people, things, and one's own feelings and thoughts so that we may interact appropriately in this world. And number 8, right meditation. Concentrate on all of Buddha's teachings so that we will not have regrets to what we said, thought, or did. And from the teachings of both the Four Noble Paths and the Eightfold Path, we can hopefully live a life of the middle path, a path of moderation between extremes, of having or wanting everything and not having nor wanting anything. Leading the life of the middle path will hopefully allow us to adapt to and deal with the constant changes of our complex lives so that we can still live a rich and fulfilling life despite life's sufferings. And I'd like to give you some examples of how we could live the life of our middle path with its extremes. And I don't know for those of you familiar, but Reverend Bob every year conducts a Metta Padma class. And I have to say, for me, the most enjoyable part of his 8 to 9 week session is the middle path. But because it opens up my eyes to how to live a life, knowing that we have two extremes that could be good, could be bad, but more than likely won't be very good. First example I'd like to give, and a few of these examples Reverend Bob has given to his kids, are from one extreme, holding your breath, just holding your breath. And if you just do that, you will probably die. Breathing out, just breathing out, letting it all out. Again, you will die. But in life, as you are aware, that we take for granted is we're breathing in and out, in order to live. And I talked about interdependence. And this is where interdependence comes in as far as our life on earth, is that human beings will take in the carbon dioxide from the plants and the trees, and we will we'll take in the oxygen from the trees and plants. We will breathe the oxygen, let it out, it comes out as carbon dioxide, and that feeds the trees and plants, who in turn will then turn that into oxygen. So there is that cycle of life there. Siddhartha, when he was trying to find enlightenment, he ate 1 grain of rice a day. And if you only eat 1 grain of rice, you will certainly not survive. Of course, the other end of the spectrum, the extreme is if you go on a cruise. Let's say you lived your whole life on a cruise and you had unlimited number of meals to eat. I don't think you'll last very long if you ate anything at any time every day. And that's why for all of us, we will limit our meals to maybe 1, 2, or 3 meals a day in order to survive. Third example, living in the past. You know, you can't change the past. What's done is done. And if you just live in the past, that is no life. Living in the future, the other extreme, thinking only about what might happen, not thinking about right now, that is no life. But I will say this, my caveat to the two extremes is, you know, sometimes we need to reflect on the past to better deal with the present, and sometimes we need to think about the future now in order to be better prepared when the future becomes the present. That, to me, is the wonderful flexibility of the middle path. And, of course, the middle path is living in the present or in the moment. Number 4, detachment. Letting go. For my example is letting go, abandoning your family, your friends. To me, that is no life and that is suffering. Attachment. Holding on for dear life never letting go of your family, what I call suffocating compassion, is also a form of suffering. And as Reverend Bob has often said, the middle path is non-attachment, holding on and letting go when it is appropriate to do so, because people, situations, events are constantly changing in our lives, and we must adapt to those changes to lessen suffering. And the last one, having wisdom only. Having just knowledge without sharing that knowledge or caring about people, that is no life. Having compassion only, having no knowledge, focus, or guidance to effectively help others. Let them do whatever they want to do. To me, that is no life also. And in the middle path, like Amida Buddha, having wisdom and compassion, sharing the knowledge with and having compassion for others so that human life can evolve, that is life. You know, without these teachings, we have no foundation for which to look for, identify, and understand how Buddhism positively affects our lives. We will continue to suffer from our petty jealousies and struggle within ourselves. But as Shakyamuni Buddha taught us to use the teachings as our guide, it is up to all of us to experience life in our own ways in order to establish the boundaries of the middle path of our lives. In closing, please join me in Gassho. Let us continue to follow the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha so that we will not fear suffering and overcome it in our ever-changing world. And with that positive outlook, to live a life well lived for the remainder of our time on earth. When our thoughts and actions are right, we will experience a special feeling that will confirm that our actions or thoughts were indeed correct. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.